Chapter 1. The Betrayal. Asher slipped through the castle's hidden corridors, his Nightweaver magic masking his presence. He had rehearsed this moment countless times, determined to find a relic that could help him reclaim the throne. The chamber he entered was filled with magical artifacts, but his heart stopped when heavy footsteps echoed behind him. He ducked behind a tapestry, barely concealing himself as King Rydian entered. Rydian scanned the room with sharp, suspicious eyes, his imposing presence commanding the air. Asher stifled his breathing, clutching the artifact he had taken. When he moved to retreat, his foot accidentally struck a loose tile, creating a loud clatter. Rydian spun around, spotting the shadow of Asher. "Who's there?" he demanded, his voice cold and authoritative. Asher bolted for the door, but Rydian was faster. They clashed in a whirlwind of tension, Asher using his agility to evade Rydian's brute strength. Their eyes locked briefly, and Rydian's shock at Asher's defiance gave him a momentary advantage to escape. But as he fled, Asher knew Rydian wouldn't forget him. Back in his quarters, Asher's heart raced as he replayed the encounter. His plan to infiltrate the castle had succeeded, but now the king himself was suspicious. The artifact he held in his hands was only the first piece of his revenge, but his unexpected connection with Rydian unsettled him more than he cared to admit. Chapter 2. Close Encounters. Asher integrated himself into the castle's bustling kitchens, adopting the guise of a humble servant. His sharp mind catalogued the layout of the castle, seeking opportunities to access Rydian's quarters where the relics were stored. But his every move felt under scrutiny, especially when Rydian himself appeared unexpectedly in the kitchens. Rydian's presence demanded attention, his charisma drawing people toward him effortlessly. Asher kept his head low, praying to go unnoticed, but fate had other plans. Rydian's gaze landed on him, and he approached, his piercing eyes studying Asher's face. "You're new here," Rydian remarked, his tone casual but laced with curiosity. Asher mumbled an excuse, avoiding Rydian's probing stare, but the alpha seemed intrigued. Their brief exchange left Asher rattled, his heart pounding for more than just nerves. Rydian's charm was dangerous, a weapon Asher hadn't accounted for in his plan. Later that night, Asher crept toward Rydian's chambers, his determination renewed. But as he stood before the grand doors, he hesitated, Rydian's earlier words echoing in his mind. Shaking off the distraction, he vowed to focus on his mission, even as the king's presence continued to linger in his thoughts. Chapter 3. Shared Secrets. Asher's resolve was tested when a rogue faction of Nightweavers infiltrated the castle, attempting to assassinate Rydian during a public council meeting. Caught in the chaos, Asher acted instinctively, using his magic to shield Rydian from a deadly blow. The act drew gasps from the crowd and put Asher in the spotlight he desperately wanted to avoid. Rydian turned to Asher, his expression a mixture of gratitude and suspicion. "You're not just a servant," he said, his voice low enough for only Asher to hear. Before Asher could respond, guards whisked him away, and he found himself under Rydian's intense scrutiny in a private chamber. The confrontation was tense, with Asher dodging questions and Rydian growing more intrigued by the beta who had saved him. Despite his frustration, Rydian softened slightly, offering a quiet thank you that caught Asher off guard. It was a glimpse of vulnerability that shook Asher's perception of the Alpha King. Asher left the chamber with mixed emotions, grappling with the weight of his actions. Protecting Rydian had been instinctive, but it complicated his mission. The man he was supposed to hate had shown a side of himself that Asher couldn't ignore, and it left him questioning where his loyalties truly lay. Chapter 4. Growing Vulnerabilities. Rydian found himself drawn to Asher, his thoughts constantly drifting to the enigmatic beta who had saved his life. He began seeking excuses to interact with Asher, catching him during mundane tasks and engaging him in sharp, witty conversations. Asher, for his part, tried to keep his distance, but Rydian's persistence made it difficult. One evening, Rydian invited Asher to accompany him to a festival, claiming he needed an extra set of hands. Asher reluctantly agreed, knowing the outing could provide valuable information. The festival was a whirlwind of colors and music, but Asher couldn't shake the feeling of Rydian's eyes on him, studying him intently. Their conversation turned unexpectedly personal as Rydian shared stories of his struggles as king, revealing a burdened soul beneath his confident exterior. Asher found himself softening, his hatred for the Dayweaver King wavering in the face of his sincerity. For a brief moment, the lines between enemy and ally blurred. That night, Asher returned to his quarters feeling conflicted. The man he had come to destroy was not the monster he had imagined, and as much as he wanted to focus on his mission, his heart betrayed him, pulling him closer to Ridian with every passing day. Chapter 5. The Turning Point. Asher's resolve cracked when he stumbled upon a hidden chamber housing the relics Ridian had been guarding. Among them was the artifact he needed to reclaim his family's power. But before he could take it, Ridian appeared, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. "I knew you were hiding something," Ridian said, his tone sharp. Trapped and cornered, Asher revealed his true identity, his voice shaking with anger. "You sit on a throne built on the blood of my family," he spat, his magic sparking in the air. Ridian froze, the revelation hitting him like a blow. But instead of retaliating, he stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "You think I wanted this war," Ridian said, his voice low and steady. "You don't know the half of what happened." Their heated exchange ended with guards bursting in, and Asher was dragged away, imprisoned in the dungeons under Ridian's orders. Asher's heart burned with fury and regret. His cover was blown, and his chance to reclaim the throne seemed lost. But even as he sat in the cold, dark cell, his thoughts kept drifting to Ridian, the enemy who had shown him a glimpse of humanity he couldn't forget. Chapter 6. Unlikely Allies. Days passed before Ridian visited Asher in the dungeons. The air between them was tense, both of them nursing wounds from their confrontation. "You saved my life," Ridian said, breaking the silence. "And yet, you hate me. Why?" Asher's laugh was bitter as he recounted the horrors his family endured. Ridian listened, his face hardening as Asher described the massacre of the Night Weavers. "I didn't order their deaths," Ridian said firmly. "I inherited this throne, and the rebellion was not my doing." His words planted seeds of doubt in Asher's mind, but his hatred for the Day Weavers held firm. Despite their differences, Ridian made an offer. "Work with me. Help me uncover the truth about the rebellion, and I'll give you what you want." Asher scoffed at the proposal, but the sincerity in Ridian's eyes gave him pause. Against his better judgment, he agreed, knowing it was his best chance at uncovering the truth. Their fragile alliance was fraught with tension, but it marked a turning point. Asher couldn't shake the feeling that Ridian's words held a deeper truth, and for the first time, he questioned whether his quest for revenge was truly justified. Chapter 7. A Dangerous Game. Asher's release from the dungeons came with conditions. He would remain under constant watch and report directly to Ridian. The arrangement forced them into close proximity, each interaction a test of patience and willpower. Asher's sharp tongue clashed with Ridian's calculated calm, their arguments crackling with unresolved tension. During one of their investigations, they uncovered evidence linking a robed Day Weaver noble to the rebellion. The discovery pushed Asher closer to believing Ridian's innocence, though his distrust lingered. Ridian, on the other hand, grew increasingly drawn to Asher's fiery determination. Their growing bond didn't go unnoticed by the court. Whispers spread like wildfire, with nobles questioning Ridian's judgment. Asher found himself the target of disdain, but Ridian's protective instincts kicked in, defending him publicly despite the political backlash. The tension between them reached a boiling point during a late-night argument, where Ridian's frustration turned into an admission. "I don't want you to hate me, Asher." The words left Asher speechless, his heart betraying him with a flicker of longing he couldn't ignore. Chapter 8. The First Signs. Asher's body began to change, subtle signs he initially dismissed as stress from the constant danger he faced. But when the symptoms grew more pronounced, nausea, fatigue, and heightened emotions, he began to suspect the impossible. Betas rarely conceived, yet the signs were undeniable. The realization left Asher reeling. The only possible father was Ridian, a thought that sent his mind spiraling. He couldn't afford to be vulnerable, not when so much was at stake. Keeping the pregnancy a secret became his top priority, even as the truth weighed heavily on him. Ridian, oblivious to Asher's condition, noticed the beta's growing distraction and pressed him for answers. Asher deflected, unwilling to reveal his secret, but the alpha's concern only deepened. Their dynamic shifted subtly, with Ridian showing a tenderness that left Asher conflicted. Asher's nights were restless, his mind torn between his mission and his unborn child. The life growing inside him complicated everything, but it also gave him a new sense of purpose. For the first time, he considered the possibility of a future beyond revenge, a future where Radian might have a place. Chapter 9. Secrets Unveiled. Asher struggled to keep his pregnancy hidden, but his condition made it increasingly difficult. His frequent absence from court functions and bouts of nausea drew attention, especially from Radian. The Alpha cornered him one evening, his piercing gaze leaving no room for evasion. "What are you hiding, Asher?" Radian demanded, his voice a mix of frustration and concern. Asher tried to deflect, but Radian's persistence wore him down. Finally, Asher snapped, blurting out the truth. "I'm pregnant. It's yours." The silence that followed was deafening, Radian's expression a mix of shock and disbelief. Radian's first reaction was anger, not at Asher but at the implications. "You were going to keep this from me?" he asked, his voice breaking slightly. Asher, defensive, shot back, "I didn't plan for this, and I didn't think you'd care." Their argument ended with Radian storming out, leaving Asher feeling more vulnerable than ever. Despite his initial reaction, Radian returned later, calmer but still conflicted. "We need to talk," he said softly. For the first time, they sat together without walls between them, discussing not only the pregnancy but also their fears and uncertain future. Chapter 10. Shadows of the Past. As the weeks passed, Asher's pregnancy became harder to conceal, and rumors began spreading through the court. Radian took a bold step by publicly acknowledging Asher, declaring him under the king's protection. The announcement shocked the nobles, stirring both outrage and intrigue. The decision put Asher in the spotlight, forcing him to navigate a court that viewed him as both a threat and a curiosity. Radian's unwavering support surprised him, and their private moments grew increasingly tender. Despite their complicated history, Radian showed genuine care, ensuring Asher's needs were met. Meanwhile, their investigation into the rebellion uncovered troubling connections between influential day weavers and the massacre of Asher's family. The revelations tested Asher's trust in Radian, even as his feelings for the Alpha deepened. Each new discovery brought them closer to the truth but also closer to danger. One night, as they pored over documents, Radian reached out, his hand covering Asher's. "You don't have to carry this alone," he said quietly. The simple gesture left Asher speechless, his heart aching with emotions he wasn't ready to confront. Chapter 11. A New Enemy. The nobles' discontent over Radian's alliance with Asher reached a boiling point, leading to a secret plot against the king. A powerful faction, led by a prominent Dayweaver general, sought to overthrow Radian and eliminate Asher altogether. Asher sensed the growing hostility, his Nightweaver instincts warning him of danger. He tried to alert Radian, but the Alpha dismissed his concerns, believing his authority would keep the court in line. Frustrated, Asher took matters into his own hands, using his magic to uncover the plot. His discovery led to a confrontation with the conspirators, where Asher's quick thinking and bravery saved Radian from an ambush. The incident forced Radian to confront the reality of his precarious position, and he vowed to take Asher's warnings seriously from then on. In the aftermath, their bond deepened further. Radian began to see Asher not as an adversary but as an equal, someone he could rely on. For Asher, Radian's growing trust marked a turning point, though he still struggled to reconcile his feelings with his mission. Chapter 12. A Fragile Peace. With the conspirators temporarily subdued, Radian and Asher worked together to strengthen the kingdom's defenses. Their collaboration brought them closer, but it also highlighted their differences. Radian's pragmatic approach often clashed with Asher's fiery passion, leading to heated debates. Despite their disagreements, they found moments of harmony, particularly in their private moments. Radian began to show a softer side, his charm giving way to genuine vulnerability. Asher, in turn, started to let his guard down, allowing himself to imagine a future where they could coexist. The pregnancy became a shared focus, with Radian taking an active role in ensuring Asher's well-being. The gestures, though small, chipped away at Asher's defenses, making it harder to maintain his distance. Radian's protectiveness stirred emotions Asher wasn't ready to name. But peace remained elusive. The kingdom's fragile stability was threatened by whispers of another rebellion, this time from a faction loyal to the Nightweavers. Asher found himself caught between two worlds, torn between his people's expectations and his growing bond with Radian. Chapter 13. Unwanted alliances. The threat of a Nightweaver rebellion forced Asher to confront his past. A rogue faction approached him, offering their support to overthrow Ridian and restore the Nightweaver dynasty. Their leader, an old family ally, urged Asher to abandon the Alpha and join their cause. Though tempted, Asher hesitated. The thought of bringing a child into a world plagued by war and hatred made him question his loyalty to vengeance. "You're not the Asher I once knew," the leader sneered. "You've grown weak." The accusation stung, but Asher refused to be swayed. Meanwhile, Ridian noticed Asher's growing unease and pressed him for answers. When Asher confessed the rogue faction's offer, Ridian's initial reaction was anger, but it softened as he realized the pressure Asher faced. "I won't force you to choose," he said, "but I hope you'll choose us." Asher's internal struggle deepened, the lines between ally and enemy blurring. The child he carried became a symbol of hope, pushing him to consider a path that didn't rely on bloodshed. For the first time, Asher wondered if peace was truly possible. Chapter 14. The Return of the Brother. Asher's precarious peace was shattered when his estranged brother, Kale, returned. The prodigal Nightweaver had vanished after the rebellion, and his sudden reappearance brought chaos. Kale's charm masked a dangerous ambition, and his presence unsettled both Asher and Ridian. Kale quickly aligned himself with the rogue faction, using Asher's unresolved anger as leverage. "You've forgotten who you are," Kale taunted. "You think that Alpha cares about you? He'll cast you aside the moment you're no longer useful." Asher's doubts resurfaced, though he hid them from Ridian. Ridian, ever perceptive, recognized Kale as a threat. Their interactions were laced with tension, Ridian's dominance clashing with Kale's sly provocations. Asher found himself caught in the middle, torn between loyalty to his brother and the fragile trust he'd built with Ridian. The tension came to a head during a heated confrontation, where Kale accused Asher of betraying their family. "You don't understand what I've been through," Asher shouted, his voice breaking. Ridian intervened, pulling Asher away before the argument escalated. The encounter left Asher more conflicted than ever. Chapter 15. A Moment of Vulnerability. Amid the chaos, Asher and Ridian found solace in each other. One quiet evening, as the kingdom slept, they shared a moment of vulnerability. Ridian opened up about his struggles as king, the weight of his responsibilities etched into every word. Asher listened, surprised by Ridian's honesty. "I never asked for this," Ridian admitted, "but I'll do whatever it takes to protect what's mine." The word struck a chord, and Asher found himself confessing his fears about the future and the child they shared. Their conversation ended with an unspoken understanding, the walls between them crumbling. Ridian reached out, his hand resting on Asher's. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together," he said softly. For the first time, Asher allowed himself to believe him. But the peace was short-lived. The rogue faction, emboldened by Kale's influence, launched a coordinated attack on the palace. Asher and Ridian were thrust into the heart of the conflict, their newfound bond tested as they fought to protect their kingdom and each other. Chapter 16. Attack on the Palace. The rogue faction's assault came under the cover of night, their forces breaching the palace walls with terrifying precision. Asher and Ridian were caught off guard but quickly rallied the guards. The chaos was overwhelming, with flames consuming parts of the castle as screams filled the air. Asher, using his Nightweaver magic, fought alongside Ridian, their coordination seamless despite the tension between them. Kale led the assault, his eyes cold as he faced Asher across the battlefield. "You should be with us," Kale growled. "This is your birthright." "You're wrong," Asher spat, his magic surging as he forced Kale back. Ridian joined him, standing protectively at his side. Together, they drove the attackers out of the palace, though not without significant losses. The once grand castle now stood in ruins, a grim reminder of the growing threat. In the aftermath, Ridian turned to Asher, his expression grave. "This isn't over," he said. Asher nodded, his resolve hardening. Kale's betrayal cut deep, but it only strengthened his determination to protect the fragile life he was building with Ridian. Chapter 17. Picking up the pieces. The attack left the kingdom in disarray, with many questioning Ridian's ability to lead. The nobles demanded swift action, pressuring him to retaliate against the Nightweaver faction. Asher, torn between loyalty to his people and his growing love for Ridian, struggled to find his place. Ridian faced mounting criticism, his every decision scrutinized. Asher, seeing his struggles, stepped in to support him, offering advice on how to handle the court. Despite their rocky history, they worked together to rebuild, their partnership earning them newfound respect from the council. Meanwhile, Asher's pregnancy began to show, drawing mixed reactions from the court. Some viewed it as a symbol of unity, while others saw it as a threat. Asher, feeling increasingly isolated, leaned on Ridian for support, their bond deepening with each passing day. Amidst the rebuilding efforts, Asher couldn't shake the feeling that Kale was planning something bigger. His fears were confirmed when he intercepted a message detailing the rogue faction's plans to attack the neighboring kingdom, forcing him and Ridian to make a difficult choice. Chapter 18. A Dangerous Proposal. The intercepted message revealed that the rogue faction planned to ally with a powerful neighboring kingdom to overthrow Ridian. Asher and Ridian knew they had to act quickly, but their options were limited. Ridian proposed a daring plan: infiltrate the enemy stronghold and sabotage the alliance. Asher hesitated, the risks weighing heavily on him. "You're asking me to betray my own people," he said, his voice shaking. Ridian placed a hand on his shoulder, his gaze steady. "I'm asking you to save them. From Kale and from themselves." Despite his reservations, Asher agreed. The plan required them to pose as emissaries, gaining access to the stronghold under the guise of diplomacy. The journey was fraught with danger, their every move watched by enemies and allies alike. As they traveled, Ridian and Asher found themselves relying on each other more than ever. Their shared mission brought them closer, and for the first time, Asher began to see a future where they could coexist, not as enemies, but as partners. Chapter 19. Into the Lion's Den. Disguised as emissaries, Ridian and Asher enter the enemy stronghold, their every step shadowed by suspicion. The tension was palpable as they met with the enemy king, a shrewd and ruthless alpha who saw through their charade almost immediately. "You're not here for diplomacy," the king sneered. "What are you really after?" Asher, thinking quickly, spun a tale about seeking asylum from Ridian's tyranny. His lie bought them time, but it came at a cost. Ridian's pride was wounded, though he hid it well. Asher used his magic to gather information, uncovering the details of the rogue faction's alliance. The plans were far more advanced than they'd anticipated, with the enemy forces set to march within days. The revelation sent a chill down Asher's spine. Their mission took a dangerous turn when they were discovered by Kale, who had infiltrated the stronghold as well. "So this is what you've become," Kale sneered. "A traitor to your blood." The confrontation ended in a tense standoff, with Asher and Ridian narrowly escaping with the information they needed. Chapter 20. The Return to Winterland. Ridian and Asher returned to Winterland with the enemy's plans in hand, but the situation at home was far from stable. The nobles, already distrustful of Asher, viewed his involvement in the mission as further proof of his divided loyalties. Ridian stood by Asher, publicly defending him in a heated council meeting. "He's risked everything for this kingdom," Ridian declared. "If you can't see that, then you're blind to the truth." His words silenced the room, though the tension remained. Asher, touched by Ridian's support, resolved to prove himself. He threw himself into preparations for the coming battle, using his knowledge of the rogue faction to strengthen their defenses. His efforts began to earn him the respect of the soldiers, if not the nobles. Despite their progress, the looming battle cast a shadow over their growing bond. Asher couldn't shake the fear that their fragile alliance would shatter under the weight of their shared burdens. Ridian, sensing his unease, reassured him. "No matter what happens, we'll face it together." Chapter 21. Bonds Forged in Battle. The rogue faction launched their attack at dawn, their forces clashing with Ridian's army in a brutal battle. Asher fought alongside Ridian, their magic and strength complementing each other in a way that inspired their troops. Kale led the charge, his fury directed at Asher. Their battle was fierce, the brothers' magic colliding in a storm of power. "You're a fool to side with him," Kale snarled. "You'll die as a traitor to your blood." Asher, fueled by anger and love, refused to back down. Ridian faced his own challenges, battling the enemy king in a fight that tested his limits. The alpha's strength and determination were unmatched, but it was Asher's intervention that turned the tide. Together, They defeated their enemies, securing a hard-won victory. In the aftermath, Ridian and Asher stood side by side, their bond stronger than ever. The battle had forged them into a team, their shared experiences erasing the divide between them. But as they celebrated their victory, new challenges loomed on the horizon. Chapter 22. Aftermath of War. The battlefield was silent as the last echoes of the battle faded. The victory came at a steep cost. Many lives were lost, and Winterland lay in ruins. Asher and Ridian worked tirelessly to stabilize the kingdom, their shared determination inspiring their people. Kale was captured during the battle, his defiance unbroken even in chains. "You'll regret sparing me," he warned Asher, his voice laced with venom. Ridian was adamant about executing him, but Asher hesitated, torn between his love for his brother and his duty to the kingdom. Asher visited Kale in the dungeons, seeking answers and closure. Their conversation was bitter, filled with accusations and unresolved pain. "You chose him over us," Kale spat. "You'll see where that gets you." Despite the tension, Asher refused to let Kale's words shake his resolve. Meanwhile, Ridian faced political backlash from the nobles, who demanded swift retribution against the Night Weavers. Asher's presence in the palace became a symbol of division, forcing Ridian to make a bold decision to solidify their alliance. Chapter 23. A Public Declaration. To quell the unrest, Ridian summoned the council and made a public declaration. He would take Asher as his official mate. The announcement sent shockwaves through the kingdom, with reactions ranging from celebration to outrage. Asher was caught off guard by the decision, his initial reaction one of anger. "You can't just decide my future for me," he argued, his voice trembling with emotion. Ridian, however, remained firm. "This is the only way to ensure peace," he said, his tone resolute. Despite his reservations, Asher agreed to the arrangement, realizing that their union could bring stability to the kingdom. Preparations for the mating ceremony began immediately, the event becoming a symbol of unity between the Night Weavers and Day Weavers. As the ceremony approached, Asher found himself questioning his feelings for Ridian. Were they born of genuine love, or merely a result of their shared struggles? Ridian, sensing Asher's doubts, promised to prove that their bond was real. Chapter 24. The Mating Ceremony. The day of the mating ceremony arrived, the palace adorned with splendor despite the lingering scars of war. Asher stood before the gathered nobles, his heart pounding as he prepared to take the final step toward solidifying their alliance. Kale, still imprisoned, managed to send a message to Asher before the ceremony. "You're making a mistake," it read. "He'll never see you as anything more than a pawn." The words haunted Asher, even as he stood by Ridian's side. The ceremony was interrupted when a group of rogue Night Weavers attempted to assassinate Ridian. Asher's magic flared to life, protecting Ridian and earning the respect of the gathered nobles. The act of bravery solidified his place in the kingdom, though the threat of betrayal lingered. As the ceremony concluded, Ridian took Asher's hand and declared his love for him in front of the court. For the first time, Asher allowed himself to believe in a future where they could build something lasting together, despite the challenges they'd faced. Chapter 25. A New Beginning. Weeks after the ceremony, Winterland began to heal. The alliance between the Night Weavers and Day Weavers brought a fragile peace, though tensions remained. Asher, now officially Ridian's mate, stepped into his new role with confidence and determination. Kale's fate hung in the balance as Ridian deliberated on whether to execute him. Asher pleaded for mercy, believing that his brother could still be redeemed. "He's my family," Asher said. "I can't abandon him, no matter what he's done." Ridian reluctantly agreed, sentencing Kale to exile instead. Asher's pregnancy progressed, and the palace buzzed with anticipation over the arrival of the child. The baby became a symbol of hope, uniting the kingdom in a way that no treaty ever could. Asher and Ridian's bond grew stronger, their love tested but unbroken. Standing together on the balcony of the palace, Asher and Ridian looked out over their kingdom. "We've come so far," Asher said softly. Ridian smiled, his hand resting on Asher's. "And we'll go even further, together."